10 music industry conspiracy theories. Here we go. Number 1, JayZ, rapper extraordinaire, celebrity powerhouse, businessman, mastermind. JayZ is in the Illuminati. So I don't know what your opinion is on the Illuminati, but I don't know. I kind of always felt like the Illuminati is something that people who have relatively simplistic lives want to feel like they're a part of some great agenda. You know, they want to feel like they're fighting some great battle for humanity, that they're standing up for the little guy and then liberating everyone. I don't know if that's really the case. I mean, I haven't personally seen any evidence for this. So what is the evidence for JayZ being in the Illuminati? Well, he does this thing, right? This is what he calls a diamond cutter hand symbol. And I guess because it's like a blade and you can you can kind of imagine like cutting a diamond with this. But he calls it a diamond cutter. He doesn't call it an all-seeing eye. He doesn't call it a symbol of Freemasonry. Now, one of the arguments that proponents of the so-called Illuminati will make is that, oh, but they're hiding in plain sight. So, of course, he's not going to call it a Freemason symbol. Of course, he's not going to call it an Illuminati. Right? That would be too obvious. So if that's the case, why even do it? Why do that if he's going to deliberately mislead you and tell you it's something else? I don't see the logic of it. Maybe one of you guys could explain this to me. I will give you one thing though. I will say this: there are such thing as the ceremonies that they have in Bohemian Grove and all that. Okay, so I'm aware of that. It is a real thing. Like there is a group of people who call themselves, okay, we're going to create the New World Order and all that. Is JayZ really the guy that you want to hit up to create your New World Order? I don't know. Maybe he is. Maybe they need some bars in their New World Order, the New World Order of rap lyrics. And so another thing that people say about JayZ is that he has the power of mind control and that he has the power of time travel. And it's funny. There's a picture of a guy. I forget the guy's name, but there's a picture of a guy from, I think, 1939. And it's an old black and white, terrible resolution, terrible. Looks like it could have been looks like you took this photo on a potato or something. And people are saying it's JayZ. It was JayZ in 1939 in this old black and white photo in three-piece suit. That was him, guys. It was him. He was a full-grown adult, and he just time traveled here from the 30s. And as far as the mind control, I don't know. I don't really know the evidence for that one. To number 2, the next one we got here is Michael Jackson. Okay, now there's conspiracy theories abound when it comes to Michael Jackson and his proclivities, and whether it was real or lie or a setup or not a setup. In 2009, he had an accidental drug overdose, and now there are people that believe that it wasn't even really, like, he didn't die. There was nothing actually happened to him. It was all a ruse, you see, by the Iranian government, because they were trying to cover up an Iranian revolution. And the whole point is to divert Western media coverage of this revolution. And therefore, Ahmadinejad could do something or other. And if it wasn't for, Michael Jackson, everybody would have known about this secret revolution that wasn't really a secret, because there's plenty of records of this secret revolution and you could find it and all the information is there. So again, take it with a grain of salt. I don't know what you guys think about that. Michael Jackson's death was planned just as a media spectacle. Okay, number 3. The CIA murdered John Lennon. Now, this is one you might agree with, you might not. The CIA apparently did John Lennon in because of his influence. It's because he was promoting free thought, and he was promoting, anti-military sentiment, and he wanted people to, just exist and, imagine this, imagine that. So that was John Lennon. That was probably his most favorite song, or his most famous song. And it was also the reason why the CIA just had to knock him down. Number 4 here has to do with the Ohio Players. And so if you're a fan of funk music and soul music, you gotta know this one. Ohio Players had a song called Love Roller Coaster. And there's a scream in this song. If you go to Love Roller Coaster, go to it right now. I mean, obviously after you're finished watching this video, find this song, open up another tab, go 2 minutes and 32 seconds. Maybe go a second or two before. There's a scream. There's a scream in this song. And it's kind of crazy because it's kind of offbeat. It's not in pitch. It sounds unintentional. It sounds like something, what was that? What? Did somebody scream in my room behind me? No, it's just in the song. It happened to be picked up on the microphone during this recording session. There was a model who was like a supermodel that posed on the album cover for this record. And she can be seen like covered in this honey type of serum and a big old bucket of honey next to her. And so apparently they had to heat up the honey so that it would so it would be easier to spread and like move around her. And apparently they heated up the honey too much and it burned her to the point where she was going to sue the band manager. And she said, "Oh, you guys burned me with honey. I'm taking y'all to court." And so the band manager wasn't having this, obviously. And so he promptly, according to the legend, stabbed Miss Cordette, stabbed her to death. And her screams while she was being stabbed were captured unintentionally on the mic in a studio recording session. So before we debunk this completely and get all of this nonsense out of the way, just from a recording engineering perspective, I feel like this is kind of not likely to happen. Even in the 70s, like, recording technology was pretty far along, right? Like, if they had a scream in there that they didn't want, they could have easily just taken it out. So the fact that they're just going to, whoops, we left a super obvious thing in this record and we can get charged with murder. I don't think so. It doesn't sound plausible right from jump. Also, there's the fact that Cordette is still alive, or she was, for many years after this record came out. She was totally alive. It was not her scream of death at all, in any way, shape, or form. And one of the other band members has explained this, and they've gone on the record. They did an interview. They said it was a band member, Billy Beck, doing an inhale, which was, I guess he was getting ready to sing, and he did this like inhale scream. If you know what I'm talking about, this was done on the Minnie Riperton record. I forget the name of the song, but it's super high pitched, like, right? So you're inhaling, but it's a scream. So that's the sound at 2:32 when you listen to it. Sorry to ruin the surprise there, but like I said, we're going to try to debunk these ridiculous theories tonight. Number 5. This is a really weird one that I had not heard before I started researching this. So this is about Duane Allman. Okay, Duane Allman, he liked to party. He was a chill dude, all right? He liked to hang out. He had a very active social life. And so this was October 29, almost exactly, what is that, 50 years ago, right? October 29, 1970, we're talking about. Mr. Allman ends up in the hospital for a drug overdose. So another band member named Butch Trucks is the guy that told this story. And apparently, according to the legend, their bassist, Barry Oakley, this guy came in to the emergency room while Duane Allman was on the operating table. They were like, he's probably not going to make it. He partied a little too hard. probably, 99.999% chance that he's never going to, like, live after this. And the bass player, Barry Oakley, decides, okay, I'm going to pray. He has a moment of spirituality here. And he pleads and he begs with God, please keep Duane Allman alive just for one more year. Keep him alive for one more year so we can play our music, so we can, make our dreams come true and go out on the road and do what we do, right? You don't want your entire music career to end just because a guy ended up overdosing. And so he begs with God, give him one more year. And guess what happens? Okay, fast forward, October 29th, 1971, exactly 1 year after this incident, Duane Allman died in a Harley-Davidson accident. He was driving down with his motorcycle, and some lumber truck or something hits him. And it was exactly 1 year later. So this one's a little bit weird. I think this kind of stuff, it's not common enough to be like, oh yeah, obviously, but it's also, it could have been just a complete coincidence. Either that, or, as religious folk will tell you, be careful what you wish for, be careful what you pray for, because, God might just keep his promise and he might just work in a mysterious way. The next conspiracy theory here is that Beyonce was never pregnant. And this was kind of goofy because, again, it's very easily disproven. But Beyonce was never actually pregnant with Blue Ivy. And here's why, okay? What she did was she had a surrogate. And if you don't know what that is, that's when you have somebody else carry your baby. It's kind of done artificially so that Beyonce could still do all her dance moves and everything and not have to worry about it and, keep her show on the road. But she announced her pregnancy at the Video Music Awards, the VMAs, in 2011. But here's the thing. A week before she was supposed to perform, she was apparently showing no signs of pregnancy whatsoever. And so it was kind of weird because she shows up with this baby bump at the VMAs, and then, a week before it was like nothing. And so this was really weird for people, and all of a sudden conspiracies abound, start flying. So what happened was she got sued by a lady that claims, I'm the surrogate. Okay, this lady named Tina. And she says, I'm the surrogate. Blue Ivy is actually my daughter, and I want to sue for custody. Kind of crazy, right? I bet you're like, oh no. But here's the thing. This Tina individual has a history of suing celebrities such as Kate Middleton and Mariah Carey for the exact same thing. I don't know. Maybe she just has carried a lot of pop stars' babies, and maybe she's not lying at all. Maybe it's completely true. I tend to err on the side of Occam's razor. Doesn't ring true to me. Also, she put out the documentary called On the Run, which showed her tour, and she was in the tour bus, and you can clearly see, hey, there's the baby bump. She's definitely pregnant in that footage. So everything checks out with Queen Bee. All right, let's get to another one here. This is the next conspiracy theory. This is the theory that gangster rap was invented to fill prisons. So here's our article right here. So this is a letter from a guy that is apparently in the music industry, and he's talking about what he witnessed in 1991 after 20 years of silence. The industry was different back then, since technology and media weren't accessible to people like they are today. The industry had more control over the public and the means to influence them any way it wanted, as we discussed earlier, by means of the propaganda with the government. This may explain why in 1991 he was invited to attend a closed-door meeting. So let's see what this meeting was all about. We were asked to sign a confidentiality agreement preventing us from publicly discussing this meeting. These companies had apparently invested millions into the building of privately owned prisons. And so I'm not sure what companies these were, but they're investing in prisons. And our positions in the music industry would impact the profitability of these investments. And so he told us our employers, the guys even higher up than them, had been silent investors in the prison business. Now, again, this kind of stuff here where they just drop this weird nugget of knowledge, this is kind of stuff you can't really falsify. You can't really prove that one way or another. It's just one guy's claim here. If this is corroborated by somebody else, I don't know. I haven't heard that. So how are they going to make the prisons remain filled, thus increasing their profit shares? Well, they would have to market music which promotes criminal behavior, rap being the music of choice. He assured us that this would be a great situation because rap music was becoming increasingly profitable. My gaze was interrupted when someone shouted, "Is this a bleep joke?" At this point, things became chaotic, all right? And I guess they started arguing and saying, hey, this is ridiculous. We'll pull out a gun. And he says it's bigger than the music business. Nothing that we'd want to challenge without risking consequences. We all protested and walked back into the house. And then he says, it's out of my hands. Remember, you signed the agreement. Here's my position on this. I think that I don't really think it's possible to like fake an entire music genre and create it out of thin air and have people like love it and buy the music and spend their money on it. I don't know if that's necessarily possible. I guess if they took out all of the other alternatives, maybe. But I didn't see in there about them directly paying a rapper to say this or to say that. Maybe is there another piece of this puzzle that I'm missing that might be more compelling? I don't know. Let me know in the comments down below. I'm going to kind of whiz through because we're running short on time here. I'm going to whiz through the rest of these. Number 8, Dark Side of the Rainbow syncs up with the Wizard of Oz movie perfectly. And if you play the Wizard of Oz with Dark Side of the Moon record playing, that everything syncs up perfectly. Oh, it's all a big, like, crazy. It's not. It's completely ridiculous. The movie is 112 minutes. The vinyl record is only 43 minutes. How do you square that circle? Number 9 here. Elvis and Tupac are both alive, hanging out. Elvis, of course, as we all know, was an extra in Home Alone 2. He was in the background of New York. You can see him very clearly. But here's one thing that's interesting about this is the fact that Elvis's middle name is misspelled on his gravestone. So was that not the real Elvis? Also, the fact that his life insurance was never cashed. Or so the legend goes. I can't confirm or deny any of this stuff. However, I'd venture to say, based off of Elvis's lifestyle back in the day, not a very likely proposition for Elvis to be with us anymore. So there's, again, Occam's razor for y'all. Number 10, the final conspiracy. Paul McCartney is actually dead. He's been replaced with a body double. And Abbey Road was his funeral procession. When it comes down to this one, the fact is, he says himself, I would rather be a little less famous today in 2020. And honestly, I don't blame him. Being famous sounds like a complete and utter chore. It sounds terrible. I wouldn't recommend it to any young musician out there. It might have been great to be famous in the 70s when the Beatles were really big, but I don't think it's something you really want to go after in 2020 if you want to have any shred of dignity and privacy and anonymity in your life. But there's tons and tons of evidence for this stuff. Oh, he turned the other way on the album cover, so that was their secret message. Here's what I think a lot of these theories come down to. There's one little thing that's out of the ordinary, and it's like, it must be a secret message. I don't know if I buy that. I don't think every little unexplained phenomenon is a secret message from aliens or from JayZ time traveling. I think sometimes we have coincidences. I think sometimes God works in strange ways. you know, unfortunately, I think our lives are a little bit more simple and a little bit more boring than we would probably want to believe. But that's a good thing. That's a really awesome thing. Because that means we can free our mind up and free our brain up to focus on the things that are actually really important. The stuff that really does make a difference. The stuff that really is insane that's going on in the world today. Stuff that you wouldn't even believe, but you have the power to know these things thanks to the technology at our disposal.